So, thank you very much for this kind introduction. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me. I am very honored to speak within this fascinating event organized by the ICD. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. Discussing peace based on Abrahamic religions is both interesting and challenging. The challenge arises not merely from the difficulty of finding consensus among the diverse doctrines of these religions, but from the complex historical context that reveals a multitude of scenarios or possibilities. These varied historical experiences make it difficult to fit them neatly into a few models of coexistence, peace, and tolerance that can be universally applied across different times and places. My aim today is to briefly outline a few models derived from historical religious literature. Religious culture frequently emphasizes and utilizes the concept of peace. In Christianity, the teachings of Jesus highlight peace and reconciliation as essential ways of living and demonstrating religious faith. The Sermon on the Mount and other teachings, such as loving your enemies, are particularly noted for their emphasis on peace and non-violence. According to the Bible, Christ appeared to the disciple after his resurrection, and as described in John 20:19-21, he speaks of peace twice. Quote, "On the evening of that first day of the week, when the disciples were together with the doors locked for fear, Jesus came and stood among them and said, 'Peace be with you.' After he said this, he showed them his hands and side. The disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. Again, Jesus said, 'Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you.'" Unquote. Examining patristic interpretations, we find that an important Eastern exegete from the 9th century, Shodat of Mer, comments, quote, "So he says, 'Peace be with you,' because before the Passion, he had said to them, 'Peace I leave with you. My own peace I give to you.' After he was risen, he bestowed peace upon them 3 times on the same day, to show that he is the one who promised them peace at that time." Unquote. So Syro-Aramaic Christians who are closely connected to the tradition and origin of the early church greet each other with the word shlomo, which means peace, making the giving of peace a blessing. In Christian liturgy, particularly in the Orthodox liturgy, the phrase peace to all, Irene Passi in Greek, is very central. Peace in Christianity, especially within its spirituality and monasticism, encompasses both external and internal peace. It represents a state of self-peace that believers must attain through ascetic efforts and by living in respect and harmony with others. According to Cyprian of Carthage, an early bishop and author from North Africa, Christ is the teacher of peace and then master of unity. Ignatius of Antioch, in his letter to the Ephesians, states that nothing is more precious than peace, by which all war, both in heaven and on earth, is brought to an end. Peace is a fundamental concept in other Abrahamic religions, which often form their arguments and rhetoric around it. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam have foundational texts and teachings that emphasize peace, justice, and reconciliation, although interpretations and applications of these teachings have varied over time and across different contexts. So in addition to Christians, Jews also use peace as a greeting. The Hebrew word shalom means peace, is commonly used as a greeting as in shalom aleichem, which translates to peace be upon you. The Talmud, the central text in Rabbinic Judaism, extensively discusses the significance of peace, shalom, and the pursuit of justice. For instance, the Babylonian Talmud's tractate Baraita Kalach states, Love peace, for the world is based upon it. Love all people and beware of pride, for it is unbecoming to any man. Similarly, Jeremiah 6:14 criticizes false prophets who proclaim peace where there is none, saying peace, peace when there is no peace. Historically, Jewish communities as part of diverse and multi-religious societies have been actively engaged in peacemaking and fostering peaceful relations. The principle of peace is also reflected in Islamic greetings. Muslims commonly say Assalamu alaikum, meaning peace be upon you. In response, one would say Walaikum assalam, which means and peace be upon you too. The Arabic word salam means peace, shares its root with Islam, underscoring the significance of peace in Islamic teachings. Islamic jurisprudence emphasizes peace as a virtue that both religious and non-religious individuals are encouraged to uphold. Quranic teachings and Hadith literature frequently highlight the importance of peaceful conflict resolution and the promotion of peace. So finding common ground for peace among Abrahamic religions cannot be achieved through a simple or magical formula. However, various models and possibilities for fostering peace, drawn from historical texts, have been employed throughout history. First, to avoid direct conflict, various religions adopted strategies to maintain separation from one another. This approach typically involves educating adherents within their own religious framework to emphasize differences and retreat into their own traditions, thereby minimizing interaction and competition with other faiths. This model effectively keeps religion in a neutral and very defensive stance. Historical texts from different religions of the Middle East reveal these perspectives. For example, in the 7th century, during the rise of Islam in southern Iraq near the Persian Gulf, the local Christian church consolidated its identity. Under the leadership of Georgis, the patriarch of the Church of the East, a church council was convened on the island of Dirin in today's Qatar. During this council, Muslims were referred as Hampe, a term used to describe pagan communities. This nomenclature underscores the Church's intent to maintain a clear separation from the emerging religion. Simultaneously, the Church was placing increasing emphasis on cultivating new, virtuous leaders to ensure its continued vitality and dynamism. The Church mandated strict adherence to Christian principles that community needed to remain firmly rooted in Christian values, as reflected in Canon 14, which prohibited Christian women from marrying men of other faiths, specifically referring to Muslims, to prevent potential philosophical or doctrinal conflicts between Christianity and Islam. The Church was adamant in its decree. Canon 17 further exemplifies the Church's efforts to maintain doctrinal purity by addressing the behavior of Christians who, after receiving the Holy Sacraments, visited Jewish taverns to drink wine. The Church condemned such interactions as detrimental to the sanctity of the sacraments, and sought to avoid any deviation from tradition and potential conflict. Second, in contrast, another approach would advocate for well-intentioned, tolerant, and neutral interactions, focusing on the commonalities between religions rather than their differences. Eastern religions and confessions often embody this model of tolerance and harmony. An illustrative example of this approach can be found in the renowned apology by the East Syriac Patriarch Timothy to the Caliph al-Mahdi, the third Abbasid Caliph, composed in the 8th century in Baghdad. During their debate, the Caliph accused Christians of altering the Gospels to support the divinity of Christ. In response, the Patriarch sought to highlight the short elements between Christianity and other religions. He further argues that Muhammad's arrival was unforeseen because his name is not mentioned in the scriptures. However, the tone of his argument suggests that the Christian community's neutral relationship with both Jews and Arabs is considered to be on equal footing. Of course, there are other texts of this nature, such as the disputation between Patriarch John and the Muslim emir, a text dating from the 8th century. The author suggests that there was an agreement between the religions concerning the acceptance of the Torah. The Apology of Al-Kindi, a work from the Abbasid period as well, belong also to this polemical genre. Written in Arabic, it was likely composed around the year 830. The text claims to document a debate between a Muslim and a Christian. Initially, the Muslim invites the Christian to convert to Islam. In response, the Christian declines the offer and extends an invitation for the Muslim to embrace Christianity. Both interlocutors present arguments to support the truth of their respective religions, yet each maintains respect for the other's convictions. A third model involves examining the direct connections between religions, such as the link between Christianity and Judaism, which are closely related through their shared origins in the early Judeo-Christian community. Pope Francis frequently advocates for journeying together as practitioners of faith and exploring our common roots. Christianity shares a biblical heritage with Jewish civilization, which the Pope describes as one of the sacred roots of Christian identity. The dialogue between Christianity and Jewish civilization should be viewed as a form of complementarity, including the study and interpretation of Hebrew biblical texts and the short commitment to justice. Undoubtedly, Christians owe the early life and upbringing of Jesus to Jewish heritage, as well as the foundational elements of the early church and its growth rooted in the Judeo-Christian community. The Semitic origin of Christianity, along with its evolution into an universal faith, biblical culture, and other foundational aspects, provide the basis for building bridges of peace and mutual understanding. The fourth model is an ideational approach aimed at fostering direct collaboration and eliminating historical cliches that place the different religions in opposition regarding tolerance and peace. We are aware that genuine stories and evidence demonstrate that individuals who understand their common roots and peaceful missions often bridge the gaps between religions. Our institute has developed a series of conferences titled The Levant, the Cradle of Abrahamic Religions. This platform engages experts in discussions to generate ideas for dialogue between the Abrahamic faiths, growing on historical context and complementary relevance. As part of this series, in 2019, our institute in Bucharest hosted a conference by Father Piotr Zelasco, a Roman Catholic priest from Jerusalem. Father Zelasco, who coordinates Hebrew-speaking Catholic communities of the Holy Land and serves as Patriarchal Vicar for the St. James Vicariate, an institution with which we have a partnership, presented several models for promoting peace and cooperation among different religious communities in southern Israel. One notable model he discussed is the Interfaith Initiative of the Negev, a project dedicated to unity in diversity under the name of Abraham, the father of all believers, as he describes it. This initiative operates in a desert climate and exemplifies how diverse religious communities can work together harmoniously. I quote from Father Piotr Zelasco's description of this compelling project. The Interfaith Initiative of the Negev was established in the year 2015 as a reaction to the political, social tension in southern Israel. An informal meeting between Jewish, Muslim, and Christian leaders during the feast of Hanukkah in the conservative synagogue in Omer changed into regular study daily meetings. They started to organize the meetings during which one topic is presented from various religious points of view each time. Muslim, Jewish, and Christian representatives discussed challenges of a multi-religious society, focusing on education that fostered tolerance and peace. In addition to that, many groups, students, teachers, social organizations started to invite religious leaders to panel discussions. Later on, with the approval of the Ministry of Education, there was established a program for high school students of the 12th grade. Any school, Jewish or Muslim, that wants to participate in the program receives 3 visits of the religious leaders that present the religious point of view on the problem of common coexistence with people of different faith. At the end, during a panel discussion, the representatives of 3 religions together answered the questions of students. A side effect of common activities was a number of personal contacts between the religious leaders. They started to invite each other, visit their private houses, and meet their families. It became a tradition that friends from various religious backgrounds are present during their feasts and are sometimes even invited to share some words in their congregations. The figure of Abraham was an obvious image uniting the members of the Interfaith Initiative of the Negev, not only because of geographical connections that Beersheba has with the biblical story of the father of all believers, but most of all by the theological message present in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The fact that both conservative synagogues in Beersheba and in Omer, as well as the Catholic parish, carry the name of Abraham became a clue towards further reflection about graphical representations of the organization. The logo of the initiative had to be designed in order not to have religious symbols, for example, a cross, not to have a political meaning. For example, the Star of David might contain it in some circumstances, or to depict figures that are prohibited by Islam, humans and animals. On the other hand, the hospitality of Abraham as a striking feature of his character is expressed by the fact of hosting and receiving guests without asking for identity. This kind of honesty might be visualized by the picture of a tent that is open. So it is evident that today's conditions have changed, with their interpretations and implementations taking on new forms and presenting novel challenges. Nonetheless, the fundamental messages of peace, justice, and reconciliation should remain central to the faiths of Jewish, Christians, Muslims, and other believers. The historical instances where we have achieved models of tolerance and peace, even if only temporarily, provide us with hope that such peace can be restored where it is currently absent. Indeed, numerous commendable efforts, projects, and initiatives around the world are dedicated to fostering mutual understanding and reconciliation. However, given the pervasive challenges of conflict and division in our world, these efforts are still insufficient. They remain actually isolated examples that should be highlighted and emulated on a broader scale. Education for peace within Abrahamic religions can start with each of us. It is never too late to champion peace and promote harmonious relationships. The focus should be primarily on the younger generation, as educating them ensures that the message of peace is carried forward and bears fruit in ongoing peace efforts. This principle is not new. It is rooted in the biblical text, as evidenced by Isaiah 54:13, which states, "All your children will be taught by the Lord, and great will be their peace." The principle is further explored in the Midrash, in Berakot 64a, which are read during Shabbat morning services. In this passage, rabbis interprets the passage, all your children shall be taught by Adonai, and your children shall increase peace, suggesting that your children, in Hebrew, Banaik, could also be read as your builders, Bonaik. This interpretation implies that children are the builders through whom we can hope for peace in the world. To foster a culture of peace, it is essential for children to engage in educational programs that promote peace, peace building, and conflict resolution. These programs should be integrated into curricula at educational institutions, emphasizing the significance of peace and coexistence. We hope that such initiatives will become a reality not only in Europe but globally, as humanity profoundly needs them. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for a very thought-provoking presentation. I'm sure you've inspired questions and comments. This time, in case anyone via Zoom would like to join in, please speak up so we can hear you. Otherwise, as always, raise your hand and then briefly introduce yourself when making the question. My colleague Valeria has a second microphone. Who would like to go first? And don't forget, half of this conference is up to you. If you don't ask questions, you're only going to get what the speakers say, which is only half. So don't be shy.
So any question is welcome.
Yes. Okay, please. Okay. If you may just stand up also, and we can hear you better.
Thank you. My name is Victoria, and I'm from Sweden. I think this is all very interesting, and I think one interesting question is when we look back, there are so many times in history when all these religions have lived together in same locations without problems, and now today it's such an impossibility, and I wonder, can we ever make our way back to that? Thank you.
Yes, definitely. This is a very, very good, view, what you actually said. They are still living in the same place, but they are dividing because of different doctrines. But I think the most important thing is that we have such kind of examples that can argue for peace resolutions, for looking for solutions among these religions, which in fact are not very different, because they are looking, if we are looking back in the history, we see that all of these three monotheistic religions consider that they share the values of Abraham, of the most important figure of the Old Testament, which was Abraham. So they should actually look for solutions, for shared values, and this, I think, will be the way how to make them, how to unify them actually, and avoid conflicts, avoid tensions, avoid such things that divide them during the history.
Another question there in the front.
Good afternoon. Actually, mine is not a question. Rather, I want to add on something you have explained right now to her, because she has asked whether it is possible for Muslim and Christian to live together. I have a good example of my country, where Christian and Muslims, we marry. A good example, our prime minister is a Muslim, the wife is Catholic. And normally you find in a family, maybe the mother is Muslim, the father is Christian, and you have kids, like 2 or 3 kids, and they are mixed. Some of them are Christians, some of them are Muslim, and there's nothing wrong in the society. So for us, Christian and Muslim are relative, are brothers and sisters, and if we are neighbors, like I'm Christian and you're Muslim, during the Eid al-Fitr, they cook and they share with us food. And during Christian, like Christmas or something, we cook and we share with them food. And during Christmas, if we share with them food, we know they eat halal. So we will always find a Muslim brother who will slaughter a goat or something so that they can eat comfortably. And we have this interfaith where when we have issues, issues of question of religion or something which can lead to attention in the society, we have interfaith committees in from the ground level to the higher, where you find they meet and talk. For us, religion has a very powerful aspect in our society. So even in the church, when the bishops are ordained, you find a sheikh from that place is also invited in the church, and they will come. And they will come and they will be given a chance to say, to have a word of greeting to the member of the congregation. So for us, it is possible, Christian and Muslim, to live together without any problem. Thank you.
So thank you very much for this very good case, this very good example.
Sorry, they're asking where I'm from. I'm from Tanzania.
So Tanzania is a very good case, a very good example for living together, for a peaceful coexistence among religions. Definitely there are many other examples of what you have presented. There are cases in Lebanon, there are cases in Israel, there are cases in many other countries of the Middle East where religions live together, they share together their values. And this is actually what Pope Francis argued, that it is important to be together, to living together, to journeying together as practitioners of the faith. Because there is no only one religion that have the whole truth, that possess the whole truth. They should see each other in complementary ways. This is actually how we can, as different communities, live together and enrich us. So, if there are other questions.
Maybe in the front, the third question.
Hello. I think all three religions that you have spoken about has a belief in life after death. So what I'm asking is, how do you think this has an influence on the life we have present today, and whether it is positive or negative, how it influences a person to live their life in the present?
Actually, this is a very sensitive point because it implies a lot of theology. And if you know a little bit the theology from the Middle Age, you can see that there have been some debates between Christians and Muslims on the nature of the paradise, of the nature of the afterlife, and the Christians consider that everything it's spiritual in the afterlife, but the Muslims, they have some passages in the Quran considering that the afterlife is just a continuation of the terrestrial life. So there is food, there is everything we possess in this life. And because of this disagreement, they debated a lot on the nature of the afterlife. But to summarize, all three monotheistic religions imagine that there is an afterlife, and this makes sense actually, because they build their projections of the afterlife based on their doctrine, and they mixed some of their principles from their theological principles, and so there are a lot of similarities in that perspective. And so eschatology is only one point from the theology that they share together as religions, as monotheistic religions.
Can I follow up?
Sure.
Do you not think that a belief in this peaceful paradise after life would promote people to to perform in a way that would be not actually beneficial or right in a way that their belief would actually not be considered good for the whole society.
Of course, because this belongs to the identity of your faith, and once you imagine that there is an afterlife, you share your religious identity with your community, and this actually helps the community to solidify their identity as a religion. So it's one of the tenets that make your religious community stronger, and that put their identity forward.
Excellent. Well, on that note, let's please express our sincere gratitude to Dr. Popa for the presentation.
Thank you very much.